G'day, I'm James Morrow, and welcome to Busting the Narrative. Now, sometimes narratives need busting, and sometimes, well, they bust themselves. Take this guy, U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Mark Milley.
On the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it.
How far have American generals fallen since the era of this guy?
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I wouldn't give a hoot in hell for a man who lost and laughed. That's why Americans have never lost and will never lose a war, because the very thought of losing is hateful to Americans.
Yes, I know that was George C. Scott, but those were the words of the great World War II General George S. Patton himself, and I don't think, frankly, he would have had much time for old General White Rage Milley over there, especially after what's come out this week. According to a new book by Bob Woodward, yes, I know Bob Woodward, we'll get to all the issues with him in just a minute, General Milley was so scared that President Trump was going to go off on a frolic after he lost the election and start a war with China that he, wait for it, called his counterpart in the Chinese military to let him know that he would warn him if the U.S. was going to attack. Now, we all suspected that General Milley wasn't up to the job after his little chat about white rage and critical race theory. And we knew he wasn't up to it after he botched the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And now we find out that he has essentially told America's enemies that he would warn them of an attack? Remember, this guy has long been a hero of the left. But apparently, as we'll see, it's getting to be too much even for them. Personally, I think that if what is true, what he said, then Milley's actions might even rise to the level of the treasonous, and he should certainly be cashiered. But here is where the kabuki theater of Washington politics gets really interesting. Remember retired Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, the Army officer who blew the whistle on that supposedly dodgy phone call Donald Trump made with the Ukrainians? Well, he's come out and said Milley must go, and here is where it gets even more interesting. According to this report from Human Events senior editor and former Navy intelligence officer Jack Posobiec, quote, several Pentagon officers present in Milley's secret meeting are willing to testify against him under oath, according, get this, to a White House official. So not only is a revered figure of the left, Vindman, gunning for General Milley, apparently people in the White House are too. This at the very same time that former acting director of national intelligence Richard Grenell is pouring cold water on the report, saying that, quote, Bob Woodward has become the Michael Wolff of Washington, D.C. It is hard to believe anything the two of them write. So, what's going on here? Well, I don't ultimately know whether what Woodward said is true or not, but what I do know is this. The Biden administration has been looking for a scapegoat to change the headlines away from their serial disaster-making in Afghanistan over COVID with inflation and down at the border. If the White House can use this Woodward report, and I believe that as a reporter Woodward has accuracy issues that stretch from here to the horizon, but if they can use this report about Milley to finally take his scalp, well, they will, for a moment, look like competent managers who know what they're doing and like they care about America. Of course, that's a narrative that will need a lot more than just the scalp of one woke general to sustain. I'm James Morrow. Thanks for watching Busting the Narrative, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on bustingthenarrative@skynews.com.au. See you next time.